Hi guys, I'm going to start reading Harry Potter on YouTube. Hopefully you guys can see me. We are on page 161 of the Chamber of Secrets if you want to be following along. Okay. The Rogue Bludger. Since the disastrous episode of the Pixies, Professor Lockhart had not brought live creatures to class. Instead, he read passages from his books to them, and sometimes reenacted some of the more dramatic bits. He usually picked Harry to help him with these reconstructions. So far, Harry had been forced to play a simple Transylvanian villager who Lockhart had cured of a babbling curse, a yeti with a head cold, and a vampire who had been unable to eat anything except lettuce since Lockhart had dealt with him. Harry was hauled to the front of the class during their very next Defense Against the Dark Arts lesson, this time acting a werewolf. If he hadn't had a very good reason for keeping Lockhart in a good mood, he would have refused to do it. Nice loud howl, Harry. Exactly. And then, if you'll believe it, I pounced like this, slammed him to the floor, thus with one hand. I managed to hold him down with my other. I put my wand to his throat. I then screwed up my remaining strength and performed the immensely complicated Morpheus charm. He let out a piteous groan. Go on, Harry. Higher than that. Good. The fur vanished, the fan shrank, and he turned back into a man, simple yet effective. And another village will remember me forever as the hero who delivered them from the monthly terror of the werewolf attacks. The bell rang and Lockhart got to his feet. Homework. Compose a poem about my defeat of the Waggle Waggle werewolf. Sign copies of Magical Me to the author of the best one. The class began to leave. Harry returned to the back of the room where Ron and Hermione were waiting. Ready? Harry muttered. Wait till everyone's gone, said Hermione nervously. All right. She approached Lockhart's desk, a piece of paper clutched tightly in her hand, Harry and Ron right behind her. Professor, Lockhart, Hermione stammered, I wanted to get this book out of the library just for background reading. She held out a piece of paper, her hand shaking slightly. But the thing is, it's in the restricted section of the library, so I need a teacher to sign for it. I'm sure it would help me understand what you say in Gadding with Ghouls. About slow-acting venoms? Ah, Gadding with Ghouls, said Lockhart, taking the note from Hermione and smiling widely at her. Possibly my very favorite book. You enjoyed it? Oh, yes, said Hermione eagerly. So clever, the way you trapped the last one with the tea strainer. Well, I'm sure no one will mind me giving the best student of the year a little extra help, said Lockhart warmly. And he pulled. Sorry, we're getting an announcement.
This is not from her. This is an attempt to get into your computer and lock it down. So do not open that email.
Don't open it.
Delete it immediately. Thank you.
And he pulled out an enormous peacock quill. Yes, nice, isn't it? He said, misreading the revolted look on Ron's face. I usually save it for book signings. He scrawled an enormous loopy signature on the note and handed it back to Hermione. So, Harry, said Lockhart while Hermione folded the note with fumbling fingers and slipped it into her bag. Tomorrow's the first Quidditch match of the season, I believe. Gryffindor against Slytherin, is it not? I hear you're a useful player. I was a seeker, too.
Teachers, again, there was an email sent from Ann Waltmeyer that was not sent from her. Please do not open it. It has a zip file with a password. Do not open it. Delete it. I'm going to let Robert and Chris know. Just FYI. Thank you.
Gryffindor against Slytherin, is it? I was a seeker too. I was asked to try for the national squad, but preferred to dedicate my life to the eradication of the dark forces. Still, if you ever feel the need for a little private training, don't hesitate to ask. Always happy to pass on my expertise to less able players. Harry made an indistinct noise in his throat and then hurried off after Ron and Hermione. I don't believe it, he said as the three of them examined the signature on the note. He didn't even look at the book you wanted. That's because he's a brainless git, said Ron. But who cares? We've got what we needed. He is not a brainless git, said Hermione shrilly as they half ran toward the library. Just because he says you were the best student of the year. They dropped their voices as they entered the muffled stillness of the library. Madame Pince, the librarian, was a thin, irritable woman who looked like an underfed vulture. Most potente potions, she repeated suspiciously, trying to take the note from Hermione, but Hermione wouldn't let go. I was wondering if I could keep it, she said breathlessly. Oh, come on, said Ron, wrenching it from her grasp and thrusting it at Madame Pince. We'll get you another autograph. Lockhart will sign anything if it stands still long enough. Madam Pince held the note up to the light as though determined to detect a forgery, but it passed the test. She stalked away between the lofty shelves and returned several minutes later carrying a large and moldy-looking book. Hermione put it carefully into her bag and they left, trying not to walk too quickly or look too guilty. 5 minutes later, they were barricaded in Moaning Myrtle's out-of-order bathroom once again. Hermione had overridden Ron's objections by pointing out that it was the last place anyone in their right minds would go, so they were guaranteed some privacy. Moaning Myrtle was crying noisily in the stall, but they were ignoring her, and she them. Hermione opened Moste Ponte Potions carefully, and the three of them bent over the damp-spotted pages. It was clear from a glance why it belonged in the restrictions section. Some of the potions had effects almost too gruesome to think about, and there were some very unpleasant illustrations, which included a man who seemed to have been turned inside out, and a witch sprouting several extra pairs of arms out of her head. "Here it is," said Hermione excitedly as she found the page. The Polyjuice potion. It was decorated with drawings of people halfway through transformations into other people. Harry sincerely hoped the artist had imagined the looks of intense pain on their faces. "This is the most complicated potion I've ever seen," said Hermione as they scanned the recipe. "Lacewing flies, lychees, fluxweed, and noxgrass." She murmured and ran her finger down the list of ingredients. "Well, they're easy enough. They're in the student's stone cupboard. We can help ourselves. Ooh, look, powdered horn of bicorn. Don't know where we're going to get that. Shredded skin of boomslang, that's tricky too. And of course, a bit of whomever we want to change into." "Excuse me," said Ron sharply. "What do you mean, a bit of whoever we're changing into? I'm drinking nothing with Crabbe's toenail in it." Hermione continued as though she hadn't heard him. "We don't have to worry about that yet, though, because we added those bits last." Ron turned speechlessly to Harry, who had another worry. "Do you realize how much we're going to have to steal, Hermione? Shredded skin of boomslang? That's definitely not in the student's cupboard. What are we going to do, break into Snape's private stores? I don't know if that's a good idea." Hermione shut the book with a snap. "Well, if you two are going to chicken out, fine," she said. There were bright pink patches on her cheeks, and her eyes were brighter than usual. "I don't want to break rules, you know. I think threatening Muggleborns is far worse than brewing up a difficult potion. But if you don't want to find out if Malfoy's, I'll go straight to Madam Pince now and hand the book back in." "I never thought I'd see the day when you'd be persuading us to break the rules," said Ron. "All right, we'll do it. But no toenails, okay? How long will it take to make anyway?" said Harry as Hermione looked happier opened the book again. "Well, since the fluckweed has to be picked at the full moon and the lacewings have got to be stewed for 21 days, I'd say it'll be ready in about a month, if we can get all the ingredients." "A month," said Ron. "Malfoy could have attacked half the Muggleborns in the school by then." But Hermione's eyes narrowed dangerously again, and he added swiftly, "But it's the best plan we've got, so full steam ahead, I say." However, while Hermione was checking that the coast was clear for them to leave the bathroom, Ron muttered to Harry, It'd be a lot less hassle if you can just knock Malfoy off his broom tomorrow."